Welcome back to the Road to Ginetta X finals. This is episode 3 and it's all about the post-race analysis. So you're probably wondering what this is, and it's something a lot of people forget. You're probably wondering why I'm even talking about it, with it being a road to the finals. But the road doesn't technically end until you fully know what's happened at the event. So you'll see this at Formula 1 weekends and things like that. After the race, they go for their post-race briefing with engineers and things like that. But in this case, we're going to look at why you didn't win, or what happened in the race. So the idea behind it is to just understand, build on your weaknesses and solve any problems for the next race. So sometimes it'll just take 5 minutes because it's an obvious problem, and sometimes, like the one I'm going to explain today, it can take 2-3 hours to work out and actually build up the information so you actually work out exactly what happened. With me being so new to Project Cars, with the Ginetta finals, obviously it took longer in that situation than say Gran Turismo, where I was already at the fairly peak of my pace, and I knew everything about Gran Turismo, so I can understand quite quickly where something goes wrong. So just to explain what I normally look at first, and that is fastest laps. So it's the fastest lap of the race versus the potential fastest that you can do in Project Cars, which is nice that you can see that. Versus what I actually got myself. So I'm moving away slightly from the Ginetta and to the more recent ESL European Championship, which I'm in, and the first race that happened there. And there I wasn't on the pace. I thought I would be. So did my teammate. We both thought we would be on the pace after training with each other. But car driver 1 managed a 2:05 dead fastest lap, while my fastest lap was only a 2:05.5, and my potential was only a 2:05.2. And that's a big significant difference, because obviously if driver 1 can get a 2:05 dead, then possibly he's in the 2:04s with potential. Now I've never really been in a race where I couldn't achieve the fastest lap and my potential isn't there, so I've got to quickly identify that there's an issue and how do I solve this. Now first of all, obviously the race is live streamed, so make sure you go watch the live streams when they're on. They're on Saturdays, 4 o'clock GMT, and I'll put a link in the description below to those races. However, I went and revisited the stream. I'd already watched it once, but I went back to revisit it and I had a look at some of the sector times that some of the drivers were doing. So occasionally the streamer would go to the lap times, you can see sector times and things like that, and I could quickly see that my middle sector was the issue, and on average versus theirs it was between 2 and 3 tenths off. And I've been close to their middle sector, but the fact that they're doing that in the race suggests that they're doing that constantly, whereas I wasn't. So I was always 2 or 3 tenths off on average at their middle sector. So there's the lap time straight away. My potential 2:05.2 should be then down to a 2:04.9, 2:04.8 depending. So what I then have to do, and what you're going to see in the background, is to compare the 2 laps. So I went on the replay, found where driver 1 did his fastest lap. I did that via the stream as well. I could see where his fastest lap was and managed to get a comparison. So I recorded that. So I've obviously recorded my own lap, and then I've put them on together on the screen to compare times. Now you can't really do sector times because obviously on the replay on Project Cars you can't see where the sector is on, say, driver 1's lap. You can see it on mine obviously because that's the live race. So what I do is I select different points. So the best thing to do really is to look at bridges, do bridge to bridge, or shadows or curbs. They're the 3 best things there really. And you can see I use curbs, bridges, and I use a combination of all of these to try and establish where I'm losing time, and you can quickly then identify where the peak time difference is. So as you can see in the background, the place I identified where I lost the most time was actually the corner with no name. So from Rivage to the corner with no name, you can see I was fairly equal out of Rivage. Through the corner I'd lost 3 tenths. Now potentially that could be a bad corner, and that can happen. However, if it's constantly different, then there's an issue, and we know that we've lost 2 or 3 tenths there, so that could just be that I haven't hit my perfect lap, which is possible because that was quite a hard corner. However, going through the rest of the lap, I noticed I was always around 0.05 off on all the time segments that I did, and that's quite a significant time difference over a whole lap. That can be 2 tenths if I do it 4 times. So there again is 2 tenths that I could potentially have. And that also then puts me a bit lower in the 2:04s and puts me at where driver R1 was originally, with his 2:05 dead. Now what could that be? You know what could be causing that? Could it just be my driving, my technique, or is it more likely, and this is what I found with the Ginetta as well, that there's a driving aid or something enabled which is causing that issue. So in this example, it did turn out to be stability control. I initially tried it with off and on, but at the time when I tried it on and off during my practice runs towards the race, I didn't see a massive difference. Now obviously I wasn't at my peak performance when I did that. It was only then, at this point of the race, I'm at my peak performance, so when I turned it off I suddenly gained that time, and I instantly went into the same sets of times as driver 1. And my first lap with it off I did a 2:05.3, so there we go, that's faster than my fastest lap I did. Quickly see there that, you know, if over a run of 10-20 laps I'm going to get a 2:05.0. So I identified the problem, and I can learn from in the future what the issue was, and actually conquer that. So you know, in the next race what I'm going to do is I will learn the track, get to my peak performance with whatever setting I've got, and then try a driving gauge. So I'll try stability. Does stability help or cause a problem? And then you can see then the time difference. So that's identifying the problem and solving the problem from a post-race analysis. Now, other major things that could occur or could be a problem are consistency. Dirty air. Now, dirty air in, say, the ESL European Championship is an issue. Pit strategies, tyres, setup, qualifying. Did you not get the lap you needed to be high up the grid? So that's caused an issue in the race. Gear choice for corners. I know me and my teammate Matty, 234, he sometimes uses different gears to me. We've got completely different driving styles, but we end up at very similar pace. So is it a gear issue on one particular corner? Racing line, taking different lines and things like that. Braking. And then also another one I want to get onto is starts. Obviously the start of the race. Did you get a good start? Did you get a bad start? Now I left that to the end because I've got a really good example of this. It's like such a good example, and I did this mid-competition as well. So in the number 70 Gulf Pro Cup at the ESL, I had 2 bad starts in the qualifying race and the semi-final, and you can see them in the background as I talk. Now there was breaks in between the race and there was some delays, so between the semi-final and the final I realised my starts were bad, and this was going to be a pretty pacey final. It turned out a few incidents caused the pace to drop off a little bit and I was up there anyway, but I decided to, because I record all the races, I looked at the starts each time and decided to time the difference between the third red lights going on and then the green light. Now it turned out on my phone, obviously there's a human error in this as well, it was around 2 seconds. So if I nailed 2 seconds, it was just under when I timed it, but if I nailed 2 seconds I would get a better start than I have been, because obviously if I'm just waiting for the green light, there's a delayed reaction. There's like half a second or a second in there with the delay of applying the gear and actually accelerating off the line. So I worked out that it was around 2 seconds. So in my head I did this a few times. I watched the red light to the green light on the races I'd done, generated a counting system, and then used that. And as you can see now, I got the best start that I've ever had in Project Cars so far. It's a bit lucky. Obviously there's a huge risk involved, because what happens if the lights stay on red for a bit longer, get a jump start, there's a penalty in there, and then I'm out. But my starts were so bad and I was expecting such a pacey final. Obviously the actions in there in the end helped me, but the start helped and I just got away and had a cracking race thereafter. So you can take some risk. You do post-race analysis during the competition, but obviously it's more risky then to apply the solution. And yeah, you know, I'm looking at my weaknesses and developing them. That's what all this is about. So post-race analysis, even though you've done the final, is needed for then future finals and future races. So if I move back to the Ginetta now, because this is what this is all about, this series, my times were so far off what I was practicing. So obviously I was driving offline for the majority, then realised obviously it's online. I was worried if there was an online-offline issue, similar to Gran Turismo. There was. The times were different, so then I had a cause for concern. Now the top guys were doing the lap times I was doing offline, online, so a bit confusion there. So surely I should be able to do the same times. There's no reason why I shouldn't. And I had to figure out what was causing it, as no driver aids were on at the time, apart from ABS of course, and I was just fighting in the midfield, and I was fighting with a lot of guys there, but the one key corner that I lost so much time on was the hairpin, and and I could not figure out what the issue was. But I have discovered since, so literally after the race, I then started investigating settings and everything like that, what could be causing this issue. And then I discovered it. I discovered the problem. So in the final episode, what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at a like-for-like comparison of the issue that I found in the Ginetta at least, as something being on and something being off, and the actual time difference that could cause it, and then how we then use that knowledge for the future. So that's what's going to be in the last race, the last video, sorry, not race. So I hope you enjoyed this post-race analysis. It's interesting. Obviously, it's not obviously racing on the screen that I like to show, but it's interesting to know what I would do or what you possibly could do to make yourselves go faster. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.